Congressman Khanna of California, a member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman Khanna, as always, thank you very much for coming to the weekend. Before we get into specifically Epstein and the files and DOJ, let's talk about the announcement last night of your homegirl, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was a partner with you and Congressman Massey in getting that discharge petition through the House, through the Senate, and getting the president's signature.
It's sad to see the retaliation on her. I mean, she was an original Donald Trump supporter. She was there for Donald Trump since 2015 when Trump was at a few percent in the polls. And simply because she signed the discharge petition, because she advocated for survivors, there's no room for her in Donald Trump's party. And it shows that the Republican Party really is not a Big Tent party.
Trump just spoke to NBC News and said that if she has a future in the party, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy for her, but I'd love to see that. I would like to see it. So that's an update we just got 10 seconds ago from NBC News interviewing her. Congressman, I want to play something from that Mary McCord said on our show last Saturday, because I've heard it parroted over and over this week, and I think you probably have a lot of insights. So I want to play the Mary McCord side.
I wanted to say one more thing about this directing his attorney general to open an investigation. If Jay Clayton does open that investigation, she said that he would, and he's going to do it urgently, notwithstanding 4 months ago her saying there's no third parties to investigate, that could have the effect of them saying we can't disclose these documents pursuant to a congressional subpoena because we have an open criminal investigation. Yeah. So this whole thing, to my mind, is a tactic to prevent the release of those documents.
Congressman Khanna, a lot of people, a lot of lawyers have weighed in since last Saturday saying that they see that as, the same as Mary does. Do you have that concern? And if you do have that concern, what are you and the oversight Democrats willing to do about it?
I do have that concern, but the Epstein file is a huge file. So what we're talking about is restricting some documents, a few percent of those documents. They still need to release the rest of them. Secondly, the law says that the documents that they can withhold can only be done on a very temporary basis, and they have to have a narrow exception that they explain. And if they don't, they're violating federal law. By the way, this is not just Pam Bondi. Any Justice Department official who's doing that is violating federal law, and when we have a Democratic president, they would be prosecuted for doing that. So they are really playing with fire if they tamper with it. But I and Thomas Massey will be seeking a meeting with Pam Bondi to understand fully how they intend to comply with the law and to have a plan of what they're going to do in the next 30 days to release those documents.
Congressman, my reading of the loopholes in the bill has been decidedly less optimistic than what you're saying right now. I want to pull up a list of the ways that this White House has so far obfuscated and tried to stonewall releasing the files, starting in February 21st of this year, where Bondi says the client list is sitting on my desk. All of these different ways, as our viewers can see, to trying to prevent these files from coming out, to now Trump being essentially forced to signing a bill to release the files. It does feel like these loopholes give the Attorney General a lot of discretion over what can be released. And even if the DOJ ultimately cherry picks a few documents in what is a huge trove of documents, doesn't that still leave a lot of questions for something that has already up until now felt extremely questionable and conspiratorial and has just raised more and more questions as we've gone along in this process?
Well, I agree with you. We can't trust them at all. And what the American people want to know is who are the other rich and powerful men who abused young girls? Who are the other rich and powerful men who raped these women on Epstein's Island? That's what the American people want to know. And we know that there are other names. How do I know that? Because I've talked to the survivors. I've talked to their lawyers. They know that some of these names are in the file. They want them to come out. A lot of those names could come out regardless of this investigation issue. But here's here are the two reasons why I believe that the bill is going to put momentum to get the release. First, you've had Donald Trump basically totally cave. I mean, he signed a Democratic bill, my bill, even though he threatened for 5 months not to sign anything, and you had an almost unanimous vote in the House and a unanimous vote in the Senate. Donald Trump understands that this story going on and on and on is terrible politics for him. And if he wants to continue to drag on the fight, his numbers are going to continue to go down. And the second thing is now anyone who's involved in any kind of cover-up is going to be subject to criminal prosecution. Before this law, it was just, okay, you're violating a Donald Trump campaign promise. Now you're subject to contempt of Congress and criminal prosecution. That may not happen under the Trump administration or under Speaker Johnson, but it certainly will happen when we have Chairman Garcia and a Democratic president.
But then, Congressman, are you and the rest of the committee and committee leadership, including Republicans and Democrats, prepared to hold Attorney General Pam Bondi or her deputy in contempt of Congress if they don't turn over these materials?
We are, but look, there are a lot of attorney generals who have been held in contempt, and that it doesn't always force the issue. I think the bigger issue is not just Pam Bondi. It's every person who works at the Justice Department and FBI who's involved in these files. If they are not adhering by the law, if they are redacting things or scrubbing things or withholding things, they are subject to prosecution. And the reality is we know what's in those files. How do we know? Because we're getting separate documents from the Epstein estates, and because a lot of the survivors' lawyers have seen the files. They know what's in the witness interviews. They know what's in Epstein's computer. They know the photographs there. So we'll be able to tell if they're playing games.
Congressman Khanna with a lot of work ahead, holding people accountable, apparently. Thank you very much for coming on the weekend.